Welcome back to Dan's Messy Garage. Day 11, putting a 289 in a 73 Comet. Yesterday I was getting frustrated with the radiator and hose Fiasco. And I'm going to do some more work on that today. And one thing I've used in the past is a bunch of plumbing fittings. You kind of stick them together in whatever configuration is going to give you the hose, and then take the contraption up to the auto parts store and find something that works. It's an involved process and it works in the end, but it's a nightmare to go through. I'm going to try to straighten the bend in the transcooler line so I can slip that nut over the bend and then rebend it. That might not be possible. Might be better off just cutting that line off and putting an end on it. I think I found something that'll work for the upper hose though. This number is in my stash. Looks like if I take a portion of it, so like this, something like that. This works for this part. It kind of goes down toward that. And if I put this down in there, and while I had it, it was looking like that thing might work. So I'm gonna have to cut up another hose to find out. I ruined one already. Maybe I can ruin two of them. Wow. Well, I can say after 4.5 hours total, the radiator is in. It's bolted in. I have access to the fittings. The fan doesn't hit the upper neck. I can move the pepcock, and it's centered on the fan water pump area. The hoses, pretty sure if I cut this one right at that yellow tape line on this side of it, it'll fit in there. I've measured it a few times, looked at it from different angles, and it looks like that will work. Like that at the tape line. Held that in there. And it looks like it will fit each end. So now I gotta cut probably another $20 hose here and hope that this one fits in there. I just take the utility knife and cut along that tape. Let's find out if it fits. I cut that portion off, and look at this. It fits. It fits just fine. It's like it was meant to be. So, Bill, make a note. The top hose is going to be a portion of a 206/86 hose. Hope you never have to put one on in the future, but if you do, there's your number. Oh my God, I did it, folks, I did it. The only way it would happen is if I cut a hose and put a splice in there so I could clock the other end of it. I went to O'Reilly's and I looked at hundreds of hoses. I took my plumbing contraption thing here up there with me, and I got the closest thing possible to it, which turned out to be the 21064, but I had to buy an adapter, cut it, and install it. What a pain in the butt. I mean, I spent hours and hours and hours putting a radiator in a car. It's just insane. So I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna move on to the trans cooler line. That one should hook right up. That other one, not so much. Slowly but surely making it. I'm making some progress. I got the fan on. Power steering pump belt is on. It's tight. Trans lines are hooked to the radiator. Radiator hoses are on. Trans lines are hooked to the transmission. I ran a ground block to here, block to the alternator, and a new battery cable. I got a new positive cable I have to put on here. Still need to hook up the heater hoses, carburetor, lots of things. But I got a lot of progress done. The radiator and trans lines took way too long. So I'm gonna move on and start hooking other things up, like the gas line and the power steering return line, exhaust wiring, on and on. I mounted the H-pipe in there temporarily so I can figure out how to tack weld these two pipes together. I have that sleeve on there and it's bigger than the regular pipe, but that allows me some movement. And I'm a self-certified gap welder, so I can cobble weld those big gaps in there and seal all this up. Goober gap welding is complete. Now, one of the problems with this H-pipe on the car is if this part's fitting parallel to the ground, those tips are pointed up. Dry shaft's running right through here. Can't drive the car with that pointing on the dry shaft. And then the floor pan is close to one of these others, might be this one. So what I'm gonna attempt to do is cut these off, rotate them, and give it a little bit of a down angle to get the exhaust away from floor pan. The muffler shop's probably gonna cut all this off anyways and redo it the correct way, because this pipe doesn't fit through the cross member humps well. My concern is just getting it so you can drive it to a muffler shop to have a correct exhaust system put on it. All right, I chopped them off of there, angled them down a little bit, welded them on. That's gonna work out just fine to get to a shop. Up, have the carburetor bolted down, but nothing hooked to it. I still need to hook up the vacuum modulator for the transmission. Batteries in it, got the new battery cables on. I'm starting to put some trans fluid in the trans, but I'm having an issue. I can't start it yet. The power steering return line has a fitting something like this sticking out of it for 7/16 hose. The hose on the car is 3/8. It would fit on something like this. The hose will not fit on there. So I need a 3/8 to 7/16 adapter, something like this. I don't know if I can find that. I might be able to find something like this, where I could screw one into the other. So I gotta go up to the hardware store and see what I can find, because I can't start it up without power steering fluid in the pump. I suppose I could take the belt off and start it, but I'm gonna go to Ace Hardware and see what I can find for this. I ran up to Ace Hardware. I think I got everything I need. One of the things I bought was a vacuum fitting that's going to go in the back of the intake. Of course, I needed to buy an adapter to make that work. I got a coupler and the 2 hose barbs. And I also got 2 spare keys for the car, 1 ignition and 1 trunk key. Take a guess, folks. Take a guess at what these 5 fittings and 2 keys cost. You ready for this? $43.17. The keys are $4 a piece, and the fittings are, you know, they're all there. It just drives me crazy. How much prices have doubled and tripled in the last couple years. All right, I'm gonna push on, get this hooked together, and put in the car. Okay, I want to hook the gas line up and start the engine, get things pumping. The gas line has a kink, and it's leaking right there. Right where it kind of goes in through the fender apron area. So I'm going to have to cut that and put a hose on it and run the hose from there up to the fuel pump. I cut that off and I put 2 clamps there, and I got an extra piece of hose wrapped around there going through the sheet metal so it doesn't pinch it. And of course, you know, this is 3/8. The fuel pump's 5/16. So I had to put a little adapter, go from 3/8 to 5/16. But now the fuel pump is hooked up and it shouldn't leak. I need to put a shifter linkage in here, in that arm right there in the center of the screen. I need to drill that hole out bigger. Get this wire out of the way. And I don't have a right angle bit that'll go in there. I do have this thing. It's made for a screwdriver, 1/4 inch or whatever. But I have a 5/16 stubby drill I cut off. I'm going to grind some flats in this so it fits in there. See if that works. That worked good enough and long enough to get the job done. I had to put an extension with a 1/4 inch deep well socket on it in my drill to put on this adapter, but it worked. I got the hole drilled bigger. Success. I was just here cleaning up my mess from putting on throttle linkage. I was thinking about the water getting in the oil. I think I figured out why. The owner told me that these heads had press-in studs, and then he had the machine shop drill them and tap them for screw-in studs. And I think what they did is they drilled into the water passages when they drilled and tapped it, but they didn't put any sealant on those threads, so it was leaking. Because normally, I looked it up, 289s don't have studs going into the water. It only goes into the water when you drill and tap the press-in stud boss for screw-in studs. So that mystery is solved. Now that the throttle linkage is hooked up, and the shifter linkage is hooked up. I'm going to drop it down off the jack stands and see if the car will move on its own. Okay, it went in reverse and it went in forward. The brakes are real spongy. I don't trust them to drive anywhere. Plus, I don't know about the plates or insurance on the car or any of that stuff. I got the gauge cluster just zip tied to the shock tower area. The customer's going to install that. And it is a long, tedious project. A lot of things took forever to do and didn't go right. I have 56 hours of work into it, and I feel that I'm done. The owner can take it from here and finish things off. So I thank you for watching day 11, Dan's Messy Garage, putting a 289 into a 73 Comet. Stay tuned to my channel for future projects and updates. Bye.